How you doing, brother?
Good.
Good to be back.
Good to have you here. It's been a while.
It's been a while.
It's changed a lot. It's gotten bigger.
Yeah, there's about
and
20.
People hold up cell phones now. Why? Put the fucking cell phones down.
He'll take a picture with you later.
Thank you and good night. No.
So, I run into you last night at the Battery, and you're exhausted. You just took a cross-country flight. You beat my Knicks the night before. And what are you doing? Thanks for that. You're hanging out with some entrepreneurs with a new company that you're investing in. You have been at this since the 90s, and you're still got the hustle to go meet with entrepreneurs and invest in them. Yep. Why are you so addicted to this? What is it about you that makes you want to just keep investing and working with young entrepreneurs?
I'm just competitive, and I like being involved in businesses where you're kicking ass, you know? Once you have those competitive juices flowing, as you know, you just want to keep on competing, and that's what I like to do. And I liked the concept that, I was always the youngest. The youngest doing this, the youngest doing that, the first to do this, the first to do that, and I don't qualify for that anymore. But all these young everythings that come out here that are super smart, I love to compete with them, and I want to, stay ahead and show that I can compete with the youngest, the smartest, the best of them, and it doesn't always work, and every now and then I get my ass kicked, but I still get to kick a few asses along the way, and I like it.
Yeah, and you're still super active, coming up with your own ideas, building your own companies, and investing in them. What excites you today when you look out at how the market has changed? In 1995, when I met you doing AudioNet, you could barely keep a server up and running, not you, just any of us.
Anybody, yeah.
And the audio quality on the internet and the speed was terrible. Now we live in a completely different world. How has the opportunity changed?
Well, obviously to start a company costs nothing. Back then you had to raise a lot of capital to have all your servers, to source them, connect them, put them online, program them, maintain them, and it was expensive. Yeah, now you have a laptop or a tablet or a phone, broadband, wherever the source, and AWS or Azure, whatever, and you're in business. And so it allows people to get to market, and the iterations happen a whole lot faster. And so that enables me to go out and look for unique things. And I think kind of the whole Snapchat, the ephemeral approach to life, the zero footprint of life is something that's going to drive life in a lot of ways. I think personalized medicine is a big deal, and I've been on personalized medicine for the last 3 or 4 years, and sensors. I think up until now, the last, how old is Google, 10 years? So the last 9 years, eight and a half years, we've lived in a world where you put in data to get out data. Right? If you wanted to find out about something, you went to Google or some search engine or some source, and you put data in and you learned from what came back. Now, all that data is stale, and I think we're coming to a scenario where rather than us having to know and put in and what's smart to get a response back that we hope is smart, there's sensors that are tracking things and then giving us information. Fitbit's a simple example, right? Here's your heart rate, here's what's going on, here's how long you traveled, as opposed to, okay, I'm going to bring up a map and try to configure. So sensors, personalized medicine, ephemeral living, those are the 3 things.
Now, let's talk about ephemeral living. What does that exactly mean? I know you have a new app that we were chatting back and forth with last night. So tell us about that and just ephemeral living in general.
From my personal, put aside Snapchat, right? My personal experiences, I had to fight the government for 8 years. And, prior to me kicking their ass, thank you very much, I learned a lesson, and you learn this from various lawsuits too, when people are doing discovery and it gets presented. So they come in, they look at all your shit, right? Here's all your emails, here's your text, whatever they can find. And you say, this is what I was thinking, and here's the context of the email. Well, it's an adversarial world, where a lawyer is there from an adversarial position. You've been in lawsuits before. Yep. And they don't agree with your context. They tell you what they think their context is. And you can't win, right? I'll give you an email and I say, look, I sent it to this compliance department for the SEC. They approved it. And the SEC says, no, that was just a head fake. You were trying to cover your tracks. You knew that it wasn't right. I'm like, no, that's a lie. But they don't care. They're just out to win. And so because that's what's happened in this world, and because you can't have context to whatever you put in an email or a text, if it's ever discovered or it's ever presented, then I've started going, in a much more of a zero footprint direction. It's not that I delete every email, but I delete a lot of my emails now. And when I text, I don't use a traditional texting, SMS to business people in a lot of cases. I use this app we had created right now. It's on iOS called CyberDust, right? 2 words, CYBER space dust. And the whole point is, if I want to talk about a company, I got sued by these idiots that said that I stole their idea for a mixed martial arts thing that we put on Access TV. And they sued me on it.
Right.
We did discovery, and our lawyers talked to them. They said, no, it's all bullshit. We know that it's all bullshit, and we lied about the whole thing, but you're still going to have to settle with us because your insurance company won't settle.
Right.
I'm like, are you shitting me, right?
Right.
And so it's just stuff like that happened. I got sued because someone said there's a sex tape between me, Khloe Kardashian, and Kim Kardashian, and some random dude, right? I'm like, I wish I saw
Bruce Jenner. Yeah.
I'm like, I didn't even get any of the good shit out of that, right? And so now it's like, if I want to talk about a person, a business, or anything that I think could be misconstrued in any way, shape, or form, I'm going to do it on CyberDust. And so, there's a lot of famous people using the app. There's a lot of, government people using the app. And it's kind of just grown organically because I think now we're gearing towards, because there's a digital footprint for everything, and because we've created our own little playbook of our lives on Facebook, through our emails, through our texts, and through everything, it's hard to have context that's right. Right. And I think young kids are getting it more than we are with Snapchat and other things, but I think all of us are going to figure out in the long run that as much as we'd like to keep a lot of things because it's cool and it's interesting to go back, you can't, particularly in a business environment.
You're just exposing yourself a little too much.
Because it's an unlimited number of problems. You can be sued for anything. Right. And the minute something's discoverable and it's discovered, you have no control of it. You have no control over the context. And I'd rather recreate my digital life so it's more like a conversation like this. Right. We could have this conversation via email, but since it's live, the context, it's just gone, right? There's no recording of it.
And speaking of which, there was some story on TechCrunch of a founder you backed who jumped the fence, went off the reservation, and something bad happened. Yeah. What exactly happened there, and where is it at? What can you say?
It's a company called Motion Loft, which I love. It's a sensor-based company.
Motion Loft.
MotionLoft.com.
What do they do?
They do real-time counting. So you put a sensor on the outside of a building, say in New York, San Francisco, wherever, and it just counts people, cars, and bikes in real time. And so the information is invaluable. Let's say it's a billboard. You want to know the actual number of cars. You want to know is traffic increasing or decreasing, or what Macy's wants to know. CVS wants to know, should I open up a new CVS on this corner or that corner? Which has the most traffic? Which has the most foot traffic? Another example, one of our customers put scaffolding up on their building in New York, right? And all of a sudden they said, your numbers are wrong. Our foot traffic in front of our retail stores has dropped 70%. There's no way. And we're like, no, that's right, and it must be because of the scaffolding. That's the only thing that's changed. They took the scaffolding off, traffic went back off. They had no idea people would be that afraid of scaffolding and won't walk under scaffolding, right? So these guys count in real time. They're really cool sensors, and they're adding new features, weather, and all that. Put that
so
aside.
It's not using, we had a company here called Density, was using MAC addresses on phones.
No, because that's only a 20 to 30% reality. You're only getting 20 to 30% capture on that, right? And
Wi-Fi has to be turned on.
Wi-Fi has to be turned on. The phone has to be we just count everything in real time, right? And we're able to. It's machine vision. So we take video, we capture a snapshot, and we actually create an outline of it and use all these machine vision principles. And it's super high tech stuff. It's not just. And then we're able to segregate. So when you have a group of people, you have to be able to count the number of people in the group. You have to be able to, did these people go from this frame over here, and is it the same person that went over here? So it's cool concept. It's advanced stuff and it works. But this guy, great idea. And you know me, the way I work is I get email reports every week, right? Yep. I thought business was going great. I had gotten him to install the sensors at several of my different retail companies, some of my friends' companies, and the shopping center business worked great. The product worked great. Only the reports he was sending me were all bullshit. And he was taking money out, and I can't really go into a whole lot of detail because the authorities are involved, but just, he was using things in ways he shouldn't have been using things. Right. We finally figured it out, and now he's no longer involved with the company. I got back involved in the company, took back control of it, and now they did more in revenue this past month than they did the previous year.
Yes, desk.com. Desk.com, get a 360-degree view of your customers with Desk.com's universal inbox. What does that mean? That means all of those inbound requests that you get, whether it's on Twitter, email, Facebook, people talking about you and your product all over the place all the time. Get them all sent to one global universal inbox, and then have your team interact and manage all those customer support requests and know that they all got taken care of and how they got taken care of. And if the same person is complaining over and over again, or if this is a new person, or if this is an important person with a lot of followers, or maybe they have less followers, whatever it is, you need to manage all this inbound of customer support. And Desk.com, by the fine folks at Salesforce, will do it for you for only $3 per month. Go to Desk.com/twist, Desk.com/twist, and save yourself a ton of time. It's got all these mass responses, so you don't have to have 10 different people in your support organization giving 10 different versions of an answer, because you don't want to be playing telephone with customers and the customer responses. You want that nice, hey, this is approved. This is how we deal with this issue. If the luggage is lost, this is the way we should handle it. And you don't have some customer service person who's having a bad day jump the fence, go off the reservation, and get their email screenshotted and put on some consumerist site, and all of a sudden your company gets this bad reputation after you spend so much time trying to make it perfect. Don't fall victim to that. Get Desk.com for only $3 a month. We use it here, including to manage the large number of support emails we get for the launch festival. And it works everywhere. Like many of the great partners we have on the program, this is one of those partners who just invest in their platform. It works anywhere, on your desktop, on your tablet, or on your mobile phone. So if you are in charge of customer support, or you're somebody else in the organization who wants to check in on it, you can take out your smartphone and check in. So go ahead and go to Desk.com/twist, Desk.com/twist, Desk.com/twist. And everybody just say thank you to Desk. Let's get back to this amazing interview.
You invest in a couple of dozen companies a year, a dozen companies a year?
Well, it depends. Shark Tank is a lot more than that.
Right.
And then the rest of the world, probably 20.
Yeah. And so it's hard to keep track of all these things, but as anybody who's been in business with you knows, you respond on email sometimes in minutes. I mean, you and I have had 30 back and forths and,
Right.
Overnight or whatever. You're on a plane, I'm over here. And you're really into discussing it and hashing out stuff like that. How do you keep up with this incredible influx?
Just by doing it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, I can be anywhere, anytime, and I just try to learn as much as I can. And, I used to keep all those emails. I don't anymore,
Yeah.
and it gave me a reference source. But it just allows me to think things through.
Right.
To me, it's more efficient to do it via email because you have time to process. Whereas in a meeting, you feel that stress of let's get it done. There's time constraints, and sometimes there's better scenarios for meetings. But it just allows me to think things through and allows me to communicate with more people and get
the
more
worst
done.
thing you ever hear is, "Can you take coffee with me? Can you?"
Let's make a call. Let's get on a call.
That's death.
Yeah, because I can't. There's not enough hours in the day.
Right. Yeah. No, I get about 20 requests a week for, can you set up lunch with Mark Cuban? I said, I've never had lunch with Mark Cuban, but I have had, 1,000 emails back and forth. So now you took the opportunity to do Shark Tank.
Right.
After your fabulous performance on Dancing with the Stars. You were amazing. Now, you don't have to put yourself out there like that, but you do. Why did you take that opportunity to go on Shark Tank? And let's face it, that show, they weren't sure if that show was coming back.
Right.
It wasn't.
I wasn't sure that show was coming back.
It kind of sucked before you got on it,
It wasn't
honestly.
that bad, but it wasn't. It got better.
It wasn't
of
good.
course.
It got better when you got on it. But what did they come to you and say, hey, the show's probably not
No.
going to make it, or
No,
if we don't have you?
You knew something was up because they brought in guest sharks, right?
Right.
And so I came as a guest shark, and literally I came in to do 3 episodes, and I didn't think it would last.
Right.
Right. So I thought it'd just be a unique experience. Maybe I'll find a good business, and it'll be fun. And those 3 episodes did well, and then they brought me back for another season, and the show is just taken off. It's just exploded. And to me, it's not about getting access to the companies. That's worked out actually fairly well for me. But what's amazing to me is that it is now the #1 show on television watched by families together. And every day, multiple times a day often, parents will come up to me or kids will come up to me and say, we love the show. My 10-year-old talks about starting a business. My 11-year-old understands valuations. You know, we have discussions in my house about whether or not Mark or whoever the shark is going to invest in this, or who will, or would we do it. I mean, my 10-year-old comes up to me and is upset that one of her friends started a business before she did, you know?
Right.
And so just the whole idea of reinforcing the fact that the American dream is alive and well, that makes me feel good. That's why I do the show.
Well, I know you got a lot of fans in the audience of it. Now, they had a kind of a weird pay-to-play kind of idea when they started that show, which was, hey, we're producing a show, we should get 5% of all the companies because we gave you the opportunity. You found out about that, and what happened?
Well, what happened was I had a company that got an offer, right? And there's like, we're not going to be able to do anything because it's 5%. And I always kind of assumed, well, I'll talk them out of it. And they were like, no, we want to keep, is that rain?
That is a torrential downpour, yeah.
Dang.
I think we need it here in California. We had a crazy drought.
No, that's a good thing for California, I guess, yeah.
Wow.
Is there an ark outside waiting for us, Jason?
This is the ark.
We want one Google app, we want one Apple app, we want,
This is the ark. We're all going to make it.
We're all going to make it, right?
So they wanted 5% for your 5 minutes on TV.
Either equity or percentage of revenue, basically, or net profits. And so I said, that's ridiculous, because we'll never have an exit on any company. You're never going to get any good companies. And I said last summer, I'm not coming back if it happens.
And they
caved.
They caved.
They caved.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it was, thanks. So,
Makes sense.
And so now we're getting much better companies. But now our problem isn't getting better companies. Our problem is the gold diggers, right? There's companies that come in knowing that they don't want a deal. They price down the valuation to make it seem, they already raised money at a $10 million valuation, but they want $50,000 at a $1 million valuation, but they won't take a penny more, right? Because they just want to be able to get on the show, present the whole thing, and then walk away without a deal. And so now part of the sport of being a shark on the show is figuring out who the gold diggers are and just killing them, right?
Really?
Oh, yeah,
So you make them take more and...
Well, no, it's not even that. It's just like you call them out on it. You know, it's like you just came here. It hasn't aired yet, but there's one, and I don't know if it will air. And actually, I just retweeted. There's an article written in D Magazine where she was there observing when I just crushed these people on that topic. And I don't know when it airs, or not all the pitches air. 25% of the pitches don't even air.
Right.
And so where I crushed them, where I said, you're just here, you're a gold digger. You're just trying to get the PR, because the reality is that the 10-minute on Shark Tank, we don't know anything about them when they walk in the door, except their first names. And what might be a 10-minute pitch on TV could be 2 hours in real time, in real life. And then they and then they edit it down.
You'll have a 2-hour conversation with them?
Oh yeah, because if it's intense and there's a lot of back and forth, there's competition between the sharks. It's a good deal. We want to know as much as we can before we make a decision. But they'll come in, and these guys weren't looking for a deal. And so you're not here for a deal, you're just trying to get the PR. That there's no better place, not even the Amazon homepage, to sell product. This is the best place, 10 minutes, you'll sell more here than anywhere. And so I just crushed them, which I enjoyed.
But they didn't. So which one has taken, is there a company from there that you think is actually going to be like this amazing return for you yet, or is it too soon to tell?
There's a bunch of them that are doing well. I mean, Surfset Fitness, these guys took a surfboard and put it on an unstable infrastructure, kind of like a bonsai ball type thing, and recreated the whole thing so you can learn how to surf indoors. And it's taken off, where there's salons around the country, there's people buying boards, there's gyms buying boards. And so we sell the boards, and it's a great core workout. It's more entertaining than a traditional workout. You literally learn how to surf. And we're selling the product, and we're also selling classes, and there's people have opened up salons, Surfset Fitness salons. That's done real well. Tower paddleboard, stand-up paddleboarding. We've gone from $40,000 a year to one of the top 5 largest stand-up paddleboard companies for portable and regular. They'll do millions of dollars this year, 3+, and are very profitable. This girl, 20-year-old, now she's 20, no, she just turned 21, Lonnie, who is from Pittsburgh, my hometown, where she created this eczema, not just a scrub, right? It's a scrub for women and kids to put on their face. And she sold $974,000 worth of product when the show aired. she's 20 years old, and she sends me an email, Mark, we just passed $1 million in cash in the bank. You have to help me figure out how to deal with it.
Right, yeah.
You know, and she's like, you know, turning down offers. She goes, well, I'm not selling this thing till we hit 30 million in sales. And so, yeah, I've only had one go bad, and one lady is out of business, and she's not smart enough to realize it. And those were 2 of the first deals I did, so I've gotten smarter.
So you're going to keep doing it?
Yeah, I love it. Again, for the reasons I mentioned.
Let's talk a little bit about the NBA. Your partner in crime, David Stern, is
gone,
retired. He's gone. Yeah. And you guys seemed so adversarial when you started.
Right.
But it seemed to have softened over the years. Yeah. And he released some statement where he said, like, you're one of the best things that's happened to the NBA in the last
it took him a while to wise up, but he figured
10 years.
out.
What do you think your impact has been on the NBA, you know, in terms of the positive way for the last 10 years?
I don't know. I think if I had to pinpoint one thing, I made other teams, well, 2 things. One, I made ownership fun, right? When I got there, it was like, shut the hell up and go up in the owner's suite and sit there and write the checks. I heard that all the time. I heard it from all the old school owners. I was like, fuck that, right? You know?
You're a fan.
Yeah, I'm a fan. I mean, look, you know, we beat the Knicks on a buzzer beater.
Right.
And literally, I tweeted out right after that, I was like, the best thing about owning a sports team, you know, an NBA team, is when you have a buzzer beater like that, you get to run out in the court and celebrate with the guys, and the cops aren't chasing you, you know?
Yeah.
So that's one thing. And then from a business perspective, I think I made people realize that we weren't in the business of basketball. Everybody thought we sold basketball. And I was very, very specific that when people went to a basketball game, if you asked them 2 hours later, 2 days later, 2 weeks later, they didn't remember jump shots, they didn't remember free throws, they didn't remember the score, they barely remembered who you played, but they remembered who they were with. You know, they remembered were they with a girlfriend? Were they with their buddies and their buddy got drunk? Or, everybody remembers the first time a parent took them to a game, right? You remember when you took your child to a game and the look on their face. And that's what we sell, right? We sell those special moments because, it's particularly now, and it's changed since I bought the team, but now we're so connected to our devices. You know, eventized entertainment is exploding because we're looking for reasons to put down our devices, right? You know, if you're 25 years old, you still want to meet a guy, you still want to meet a girl, you still want to have fun, you still want to party, and yeah, you can go on Tinder, yeah, you can do whatever, but at the same time, you've got to get away from that at some point, and so you're seeing Tough Mudder, you're seeing LA Sleigh Ride, eventized entertainment just explode, and sports are part of that.
The game has changed a lot in terms of coaches. Like, you used to have these old school coaches who knew how to work with the guys, and now you have these data-driven, all the video data guys, I guess in Boston and a lot of places are taking over. How is data, video, and whatever those devices are that...
The sports view cameras? Sports
view cameras, yeah.
Yeah, it's changed.
Explain what that is, yeah.
Well, now we have cameras up on every arena. It started with the Mavs in Boston, and the NBA decided we had to have them for all teams because it was an unfair advantage that just tracks movement. So it's machine vision, and it says it tracks all the players and officials and the ball, and just gives you all the coordinates, and not in real time, but that we're able to go back and analyze to use as we see fit. And so it's not Moneyball where you find the best players, because baseball, you never know where the stars are coming from. You know, basketball, you pretty much 80% of the time, you know who the stars are going to be.
Right.
And so it's not so much about figuring out who, but it's figuring out team combinations, lineups, and finding out if there's problems, can you identify things. So there's analytics, and it's actually becoming a much more efficient market, so that almost all teams have realized that they should have a lot of analytics geeks and working through the numbers, and that's kind of become more efficient. And now it's moving into psychographics. So we have a team psychologist, and have had one for a longer than, I think we're still the only team that has a full-time team psychologist that sits behind the bench and travels with the team, because, your brain is just as important as the rest of you and things. And now we're also doing medical. I invested in companies now that put a patch on and tracks, from your perspiration, and gives you feedback on, what issues you may be addressing, and creating medical baselines for players. Because when someone gets sick, whether you're an athlete or not, you go to the doctor, they take blood, and then they compare you to the general population to tell you if your numbers are good or not, and that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So we try to create baselines for all of our players.
Talk about the psychologist. I mean, what is the psychologist's role on the team? And maybe some, anonymizing, obviously, but what's an interaction they would have with a player?
every NBA player, you have to be confident, obviously.
Right.
And 80% of them think that if they played 40 minutes, they'd be Michael Jordan. And the only person holding them back is the coach. And so, but you can't have an honest conversation with the coach about that because he controls your playing time. You know, it's almost like any other organization. The sales rep thinks, oh my God, if it wasn't for these guys holding me back, I'd be selling everything and killing my numbers. And so what a team psychologist helps us with is he teaches the coach how to communicate with each player because he understands, he talks with the players without, and it's with all 100% privacy and says, okay, coach, here's the best way to communicate and motivate this guy. He'll talk with the players and say, okay, it's not going your way here or there, but here's how you should deal with it. We put together programs for all of our rookies that say, here's what it takes to be a professional for the Dallas Mavericks. Here's what we expect of you. Here's the work we expect you to do. Here's the layout, and we want you to commit to that. Are you able to do that? When we have free agents, particularly in the less expensive, the more journeyman type free agents, we interview them to say, okay, here's your role. Are you willing to accept your role? And all those things allow people to understand what they're getting into and allow us to understand how to communicate with them so we can get the best out of them.
It's
Thanks.
a pretty, thanks.
There's one Mavs fan out there.
There's one fan. I think there's more than one. The three-point shot. I mean, I'm going to get into basketball just as my privilege as the moderator. The three-point shot statistically and the usage of it has changed the league, and the reliance on centers and back to the basketball is kind of ended. The Patrick Ewing era.
It hasn't ended. They're just tougher to come by.
Yeah.
It's easier to get someone who can shoot a three-point shot. And look, it's just numbers. Believe it or not, we still haven't set records, a lot of records for number of three-pointers in a game by teams because the old Dallas Mavericks from the late 90s, right before I bought the team, was so bad, our coach back then, Don Nelson, said, well, you guys know Don Nelson out here if you're a basketball fan, just said jack up threes. We don't give a shit. We're not going to win anyways. We might as well be entertaining. And just like the Warriors did when they beat us a few years ago, but they went in. Yeah, here's my fadeaway three off one leg, Baron Davis. Yeah, rub it in, okay. But in any event, quick story on that. Here's one for you. Tim Donaghy, bringing up bad news for the NBA. There was a game, Warriors made the playoffs by one game, right? And there was a game where there was a tie game between the Warriors and the Bulls, and the Bulls had the ball. Clock is running down. Ben Gordon's dribbling for the last shot. Andros Biedrins, another fine name from Warrior history, is standing in the three-point lane, defensive, and rather than calling defensive 3 seconds, Tim Donaghy walks up, pushes him out of the three-point lane, smacks his hand down. Had he called that, Ben Gordon, 85% free throw shooter, probably hits the free throw, right? And instead of going to overtime and the Bulls losing to the Warriors and making the playoffs, they don't make the playoffs, and all of our history is different. So there's your I Believe team.
Yeah, and Tim Donaghy, of course, an official who...
Yeah, disgraced ref who got in trouble.
Disgraced ref.
Yeah.
But you were an owner during that Tim Donaghy, the tail end
that
of
was
it.
2008, yeah.
Yeah, how did the league handled it well?
Handled it great. I mean, now it made us so much smarter, made us a lot better at everything we do with officials. So the law of unintended consequences is we got smarter at what we do.
New Relic saved my life. I'm not kidding. We launched Inside.com and it crashed. I am in sheer panic. My investors, my customers, the press, family members, friends. Oh my God, I downloaded your app. It doesn't work. Why doesn't your app work? Are you guys incompetent? And I am literally there pulling out what little hair I have left on this 43-year-old head because I'm going mental. I'm 20 years into my goddamn career and I can't have a service going down. I've got a reputation to build, people have a higher expectation of me now. I'm not just some nobody kid launching an app. The app's called Inside.com. It's got a great domain name and a brand, and it's crashed. So I email my friends over at New Relic. And I email them on like a Wednesday at 11 p.m. I'm not kidding you. And I say, help. Boom, 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 boom. They're on the line with my sysadmin, with my CTO. We put New Relic across the entire stack. Beep, boop, 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 boop. All the data comes in, and we pinpoint exactly where the problem is with Inside.com. We were firing off voting requests when people were scrolling through the app inadvertently. We didn't know it, and they pinpointed it like a laser, like the hand of God coming down and saying, ah. this is your problem. That's what New Relic does. App performance in order to increase your happiness and sanity. You get code level visibility. You can build it so much faster. It's more reliable and it's affordable. Go to newrelic.com/twist. Go to newrelic.com/twist. I'm not only endorsing them, I'm telling you that when I was drowning, they sent me a life preserver. This is beyond an endorsement. This is a thank you. Thank you to my friends at New Relic for saving my ass at the Inside.com launch. That's all you need to know if you're thinking about application performance tools for your startup. Nike, Warby Parker, Airbnb, Comcast, and AT&T use it. We use it here, as you've heard. And you can go to newrelic.com/twist and get the This Week in Startups t-shirt. There it is. Not only do they help me, they also paid to buy a bunch of beautiful This Week in Startups t-shirts. It's the only This Week in Startup t-shirts in existence. You see the samurai sword on there? Go to newrelic.com/twist and get the t-shirt. And everybody thank at New Relic on Twitter for saving at Jason's ass at Inside. Thank you. And let's get back to this amazing conversation with Mr. Mark Cuban. Thank you.
Let's talk a little bit about the movie business, the cable business, HDNet. You bought a bunch of stuff and you got really excited about movies and media for a while there. Mm-hmm. And it seems like you've come back to tech a little bit. What did you learn in the movie business and what worked and what didn't?
So first movie I ever made myself that I greenlit, I get an email from a guy named Alex Gibney. And he says, I've got all this footage from Enron and I want to do a documentary about Enron.
Smartest guys in the room.
And so I'm like, okay, that's cool. How much is it going to be? He goes, $700,000. I'm like, okay, let's do it. So I greenlight this movie, this documentary in 12 minutes, and it goes on. It's called the Enron, the Smartest Guys in the Room. And it goes on at that point in time when it was released in 2004 to become one of the top 10 grossing documentaries of all time.
I believe it won Sundance for documentary.
Yeah, and it gets nominated for an Academy Award. I'm thinking, this shit's easy. The next movie we do is, my partner took the lead on it, Todd Wagner, and he goes, we've got this movie, it's black and white, it's more politically driven, it's called Good Night and Good Luck, starring George Clooney.
Amazing.
Yeah, and we do it for $12 million, and it gets nominated for 6 Academy Awards. I'm like, this shit's definitely easy. And it's been downhill ever since. And so, learned my lesson. We've done a couple really good movies, Keela and the Bee and a bunch of other ones. But it's not an easy business. And so at the time, nobody, we started HDNet, which is now Access TV, in 2001, when everybody looked at the big screens that we see here and said a 42-inch plasma screen was $20,000. And they're like, no one's ever going to buy that stuff. And I'm like, no, the prices are going to come down. They're going to be ubiquitous. They're going to be everywhere. So there needs to be the first all high-definition TV network. So we started that. And it grew and grew and grew and grew. And then about 2008, as HD became more prevalent, I thought, you know what? It's not happening it's not happening as fast as everybody else thinks. I've got a little bit of time. I didn't, and so I made a bad strategic call there, and that hurt us. So I didn't grow Access TV as quickly as I want. Now we've rebranded as Access TV, and now it's music on television geared towards more of a 40-plus audience, and it's going really well. But for entertainment is becoming increasingly difficult. Not just because of online. Online's impossible. I mean, you've written on YouTube and everything. It's just forget it. It's impossible. And on TV, it's becoming so much better, right? That it's actually easier, but more expensive. And so, trying to figure out the balance of everything, that's more of a challenge. And it's not so much that I'm not as involved it's just that I've hired people to do a lot of that. And so it's just worked out better that way because, like I said, 2004, I was a genius. Now I'll let the other geniuses do it.
Yeah, I mean, the HD space, you were so early when...
way ahead, years.
When you got DirecTV, they were like, there are 2 HD channels, HDNet 1, HDNet 2.
Basically,
and we're going to put, maybe the 4, Discovery...
No, there weren't. No, there was just us.
It was just 2, And then it went to like 6, and then it went to 8. So you were so early.
Way ahead.
And it still didn't...
No, it worked for us. We made money, and we brought in, we did well. But I should have been able to leverage it into a full distribution, huge network, and I didn't because, as an independent network, we just didn't have any negotiating networks. And so I made some strategic mistakes on that, and it was, we should have been bigger.
You still own the theater chain, though.
Yeah, we still own Landmark. Landmark's doing really, really well. It's profitable. Magnolia Pictures is doing, we distributed Blackfish, Man on Wire. I mean, a lot of...
those are incredible.
Oh, yeah. We do great work. And it's, I like to come in and look at things and say, this is the way it's always been done. how can I fuck it up?
Yeah.
Right? And change it. And so with HD, it was done one way. Standard def, I'm like, here's how it's going to change. We're ahead. And then with movies, somebody's mad at what we're saying here.
Yeah.
With movies in 2006, I saw what's happening on television, said it's all going digital, right? VOD is going to grow from analog to digital. There's going to be a lot more shelf space for movies, and it's going to be a lot easier to get people just to hit a button on their remotes to buy a movie. And so because we own Landmark Theater and we produce and distribute movies, we changed the approach so that I said, look, we're going to create this thing called Ultra VOD, and we're going to take the movies that we make and distribute and put them on VOD first, 30 days before they're in theaters, because the path of least resistance to buy that movie is just a click. And so it was just following the digital progress of TV.
It worked.
It's killing it.
Yeah.
Like Magnolia is just crushing it. I mean, 95% of the movies we distribute make money. And there's nobody else with that kind of hit rate. And now some people have copied us, but it's still doing really, really well. So HDNet, Access TV is doing well, probably not as well as it should be. Magnolia, we changed the whole industry. It's crushing it. Landmark is doing really well. So the entertainment stuff is doing well enough that I don't have to be involved on a daily basis.
Let's talk about Box. You were an investor in Box.
First investor.
First investor in Box. Aaron Levy, obviously really bright guy.
Yeah.
And he says, hey, we are going to take a new strategy.
Yep.
The strategy
It wasn't quite that. It was
Oh.
that he said, we have these other guys that wanted to invest on this direction, right? And we were set up going this direction, and that's the direction you prefer. And so he came to me, and I said, well, that's fine. If you've got all this money that wants to come in, higher valuation, more power to you. Rather than negotiating and say, well, let me make as much money as I can, I just said, have them return my money. You guys are going in a direction, more power to you. Let's part as friends, and that's what happened.
And the direction was he wanted to go freemium.
All free, yeah.
All
Not
free.
even freemium, all free. Yeah. He had been charging, and he'd been growing, but not as fast as he wanted. He wanted to be ubiquitous with, storage concept, and I just thought that was going to cost too much money, and he was going to end up having to raise hundreds of millions of dollars to eventually do tens of millions in revenue. Oh, wait, he did. Oh.
And he did. And he got there. So you missed it.
I didn't miss anything.
Well, that would have been a tremendous return, right?
No, not $250,000 after another $350 million is invested.
So you would have been diluted a whole bunch and...
Yeah, I would have been diluted to next to nothing, right? But I mean, I still would have made money. I probably would have made, who knows how it turns out. And look, Aaron's super smart and he's going to do great, right?
Yeah.
But you've got to, in my mind, I always have a semblance of, what am I going to feel good about? And you also have to realize this wasn't 2 years ago. This was 9 years ago.
Right. It was a pretty crazy idea.
Yeah, 9 years ago. And so the idea that it was going to, take hundreds of millions of dollars and then pivot, and it's just not my fit. It's just not my style. And I didn't want to hold Aaron back. And I like the guy. I want him to do great things. I just wasn't the best fit for him, so I stepped back.
So when you look at angel investments now, I mean, there's a million people who probably email you. What are the emails that you just pass right by? And what are the emails and the things in an email that come to you that make you go, maybe I'm going to hit the reply key? Because you probably hit reply 1 out of 100 times or something.
At the most, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's just another version of something that's already out there, we're a better Pinterest, we're a better this, we're a better that, that's tough. If it's very binary, where you have to get millions of users, right? If we get millions of users, we'll be this, right? Or this is a great idea. It's just like Tinder, swipe left, swipe right, to do whatever. But it's crowd-based. And in order for any crowd-based scenario to work, it's very binary. Either you're going to have millions of users and it works, or you're going to fall short and it's not going to work. And so I have to make a judgment whether I think that's valid in that area. And so that's rare, but every now and then I'll say yes. And then the things that get my attention are things that are sensor-driven, things that are unique, where I say, oh, I've never thought of that, never heard of that, and can be ubiquitous, but from a unique perspective.
Yeah, and Google's performance of late, I mean, we're all kind of amazed, I think, about what they're doing. What do you make of Google's amazing investment in bets?
You got to, right?
Yeah.
You have to. They have no choice. They're Microsoft.
Right.
I mean, if we go back 1986 in the Peabody and the Wayback Machine, right? Mr. Peabody, people here don't remember Mr. Peabody, sorry.
Yeah.
But in any event, Windows cranking, the whole ecosystem, the infrastructure for Windows. Every app, people are writing for Windows, right? And Microsoft is hedging their bet and investing in everything. And that's a lot of what got them into the enterprise space. And then they do a lot of different things. That's exactly what Google's doing. You know, and they have to. Now, will Google monetize better than Microsoft did for a lot of these third-party acquisitions? I don't know. You know, but they have to do it. Nest was brilliant. They have to have it. You know, the robotics stuff, brilliant. They have to have it. But if you go through Microsoft Labs and all the stuff that they're doing, there's a lot of brilliant shit where when it was acquired, everybody said, that makes perfect sense, but they were never ever to take it to fruition. So, you know, and I said, they had me talk at Google Zeitgeist, and I said, what's the biggest problem with Google? Right in front of Larry, and I'm like, they look a lot like Microsoft back in the 80s and the early 90s, and obviously he about punched me. But, you know, and it gets to a bigger point. When you have a good idea, right? You ask your friends, you ask for feedback around, you say, oh, I'm all excited, it's a great idea.
Right.
My friends like it, I can't find. What do you do next? You go to Google, right? And you put it in there and you say, it's this, 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 this. You find 50 different keyword searches and you say, there's nothing there. Right? Wow, it must be a great idea. No one else is doing it. Wrong. The reason there's nothing there is the 15 people who did it before you are out of business, their web servers are down and they're not indexed anymore. And there's no sense of history in a lot of the things that are happening. You know, because, and particularly with mobile apps, because there's no real web there. There's like a one-page web setup that directs you to the mobile app. There's nothing indexing the app, and so a lot of 50 different people are doing the same app, and, you know, and because you can't get a URL, it's, you know, the XX app, right? And it's XXX app, and it's hard to find the comparables, and it's hard to learn from the history of it. And so it's, whether it's Google, whether it's Facebook, the real challenge right now in starting a company is you can't learn from history because all the history's gone. And us old motherfuckers at least have that. Maybe it holds us back, and maybe, you know, it's the worst thing that can happen is, you know, being, you know, ignorant of what happened might, you know, is probably better in a lot of cases, but sometimes it's not. And so I think that's one of the biggest challenges that entrepreneurs face today, that there's no history to really go back to look at.
And Apple, we went through Google, checking out Apple, $140 billion, huge company. Obviously, they don't have Da Vinci anymore. He's left the building, sadly. Would you be buying back stock like Carl Icahn is forcing them to?
No.
Or when you watch Carl Icahn interacting with them, like, what do you think?
That's financial engineering, right? The stock prices don't matter, right, when it comes to tech. You know, if you're running the company, yes, it matters, right? But in terms of just what's the best for your customers, what's the best for the company, you know, I take more of the Bezos approach where just do the right thing. And whatever Apple has with their cash, it doesn't matter. It's all about their next products. You know, is it the 1980s Apple where they're kicking out jobs, or is it, you know, coming back to some great products? Is their next product Lisa? Anybody ever heard of Lisa?
Yeah.
Anybody not heard of Lisa? Let me ask, no, seriously, anybody not heard of Lisa?
Yeah, there's a couple dozen.
You know, I mean, Apple III, you know, is their next product the Apple III? Newton, right? It's just
Cube,
yeah. All that matters is what comes next for Apple. So it shouldn't matter what they do with their cash. It's what they do with their products.
Should they be doing more acquisitions, you think? I mean, you saw
They do a lot of acquisitions, but they do it in a sense of integrating and creating new products. So they're buying glass companies, they're buying chip companies, which I think is smart.
Yeah. How do you advise your entrepreneurs on when to sell, right? We have a lot of acquisitions going on now. It's going to be a pretty acquisitive market due to these players with tons of money. How do you evaluate that? And you did a pretty good job of evaluating it yourself, but
it worked out okay.
It worked out okay with Broadcast.com, but there was a moment where you almost sold it before.
Yeah.
Tell
Microsoft.
That story.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Microsoft was going to buy us for $75 million, and then it got
So you would have made 20?
No, I would have made about 30, you know.
30.
It would have been all right, but...
this would be a slightly different conversation.
Yeah, but you wouldn't know who the fuck I was.
You would have been on stage here pitching a new company.
Yeah, probably, right?
Hi, I'm Mark Cuban. Here's my new app.
CyberDust. Yeah, it would have been a completely different conversation. Thank you, Lord. But what I advise people, when I sat down to make a decision, my goal always was I wanted to retire by the time I was 35. right? Period, end of story. And I sold my first company, Micro Solutions, and I was going to be willing to live like a student. I was 20, I just turned 30, I guess. And I bought a lifetime pass in American Airlines and just partied like a rock star. I was getting fucked up with as many people as I possibly could and going to as many countries as much as I could and loving life. And that was my goal, right? And then came back and started buying and selling stocks, made another $25 million, whatever, crushing it. Then we started AudioNet, and I financed it out of my pocket till we got big enough where we wanted strategics. And again, on one hand, we were doing 1 million people a day coming in doing multimedia in 1998. 1999. We were doing, when we sold to Yahoo, our last quarter, I think we did $23 million in revenue in $1999, right? So
on the internet?
On the internet, yeah, right. All just on the internet, right?
Those were people paying you to do webcasts.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's shocking the things that we created back then that if I would have patented it, would have been a different world. Pre-roll ads, we started that. Pop-up ads, we called them guaranteed click-through, we started that. Multicast distribution, all kinds of stuff. You know, different ways of connecting servers, writing software around, all kinds of shit. But in my mind, it wasn't about, I wanted to create this huge company. I remember telling our employees, we're going to change, I want to be the next Ted Turner. I want to just change, cable change television. I want to change media. I want all media to be driven online, that it's going to be crazy to think that there aren't going to be more choices online than there are TV. People are going to upload user-generated content, and that's going to change the world, and not the world, the country. I wasn't thinking that big. But more important to me then was my personal freedom, right? The one thing my dad has always driven to me, the one thing you can't own is time. And the one thing you can't get back is time. And while part of me wanted an amazing world-class company, a bigger part of me just wanted to see the world, and just experience the world and just love life and just enjoy life. And that was more important to me, and that's what the money enabled. And that's why that's why I hedged my stock. I didn't need more, I just wanted more time. Because that was everything to me. And so when I talk to entrepreneurs, you have to make a decision what's important to you. Time to go out and do whatever, be whoever you are, help whoever you want to help, raise your family, whatever it is, or do you want to create a world-class company? What is your goal? And you have to understand your goals, and there should always be a price. If it is about selling at some point, what's the price? I just had conversations with 2 of my companies today. Like, you always have to have a price in mind, and then you put that price out there because someone might say yes.
So always be open to it.
Well, just always know why you're there.
Right.
What is it that causes you to work 24 hours a day? What is it that causes you to dream about this company? What is it that gets you so fired up you can't think about anything else? What is it just that you just say, this is me, right? I am, what is it that drives you? And if you understand that, then deciding to sell or not to sell is easy.
What is it for Mark Cuban today? Is it being the owner of the Mavericks? Is it investing in these companies? Is it being in the moment on Shark Tank? Which one of those is the moment you most enjoy?
I mean, I'd say my family now, because I put off a family forever. I mean, having my 10-year-old come home and talk about starting companies and stuff like that. And my 4-year-old, for the first time, literally, we watched a Mavs game last week, and he's high-fiving me. And before that, he's like, Danny, I don't like basketball, but now he was into it. That's number one. But after that, it's competing. Like I mentioned earlier, I just love to compete. And 2, what the Shark Tank thing, again, I'll say it, I can't say it enough times, it's the fact that I truly, truly am part of the solution to letting people know that anybody with a little bit of work, a little bit of help, a little bit of vision can do anything. It takes luck. It's not going to happen to everybody, right? Not everybody has the resources. But if they watch Shark Tank and there's just one thing that they learn, or just as inspires them to say, okay, if this person from Iowa can go on Shark Tank and I like that idea, or they can get an investment, or even if they don't get investment, they can create a business that's successful, whether they're 15 years old, whether they're 80 years old, whatever it is. If they can do it, I can do it. And if I can be part of that, how fucking cool is that?
It's pretty rad.
Yeah, so that turns me on.
Big conversation in San Francisco these days. I don't know if you saw Tom Perkins, former venture capitalist, saying all kinds of crazy shit. When you hear rich people saying how persecuted they are and how, all this kind of stuff, and you see the income disparity. I know you work with on a lot of causes for people who are suffering. What do you think of those comments, and what do you think about polarization of wealth in society, the
I'm glad
income
you asked
gap.
that, right? So two things. One, I said, dude, I called him up and said, dude, come on, we had the billionaires meeting and we said not to say that shit. No, just kidding.
He was very clear to say, I am not a billionaire.
Whatever, right.
He owns a $100 million boat, but he's not a billionaire.
And can I also tell you that I thought when I became worth billions of dollars, I'd get a call from the Trilateral Commission, and the motherfuckers have not called me, and I'm pissed. So if any of you are out
There's
there,
no Illuminati.
there's no Illuminati.
All
I'm
the
like, "Come on,
billionaires are in
man.
it, but you."
Come on, man.
It's just you, Mark. The Illuminati's meeting right now. They just left you
I
out.
hate when that happens.
It's always another velvet rope.
But income disparity is a problem, right? And my thought is, anyone here, anywhere in the world, you're not entitled to shit, right? You're not entitled. Anyone, now listen, hear me out before you get all excited. Any one person, I don't think is entitled, right? But me as trying to be smart, me as an American citizen, right? There are groups of people that need help. And I love the American way of life. And as an American citizen, I have to realize, and as someone who has influence and impact and take initiatives myself, forget not asking someone else, take initiatives myself, I have to realize that if enough people feel like they're invisible, people start acting like they're invisible. And when people act like they're invisible, they do shit to mess things up. They riot. You see this in Europe, and you see it in other countries. So if we don't come up with ways to help people and keep them from being invisible, not any one person, but as groups, right? Then we're going to have problems, and we're not, the American way of life is going to be contested. And to me, that's a problem. Do I think it happens this year? No. Does it take 5 years? But if there's enough people that fall out, right, then people start breaking the windows when they talk about the broken window theory. People start not respecting authority. And if enough people don't respect authority, then we have structural problems. If we have structural problems, then it changes our way of life. And so you have to identify that that's a potential problem. It's not about entitlements. It's not about, so what do? Right? I'd rather just write checks. Whether it's me, the government. Does the government waste money? Yeah. Do we spend too much money on shit? So if it came down to me and said, Mark, you're president for a day, you have, unlimited power to do whatever, I would say, we're going to start cut back programs. All these programs that are entitlement programs, I mean, even for poor people, Head Start, all these different things, and take all those dollars, not put them back in taxpayer pockets, but just write checks and let people be consumers with them, because people that need the help, rather than giving them programs and trying to convince them to get in, I'd rather just reduce the amount of money the government spends on those programs, take the money, write them.
There is a concept of a minimum income.
Yeah.
And people are talking about this pretty seriously.
I'd rather do that as long as there's corresponding cut in programs. So if there's a $1 billion program that we cut, anybody who is under a certain limit, write them the checks, right?
Yeah.
Take all those in aggregate. I don't care if we're paying everybody 20, if there's 200, $2 billion, $5 billion, whatever it is, and there's 50 million people that would be eligible.
Yeah.
10 million people that'd be eligible. I'd rather just write the checks, reduce the size of government, have us not start to try to manage all things, and then knowing that that money will be used, hopefully, not 90% of the time, to go out and enable these people who need help so that they're not invisible. The risk, in my mind, and who knows if and when it happens, it's just a risk, it's not a foregone conclusion, is that if enough people become invisible, we have structural problems, and then all the things that we try to do in the tech world and everything won't matter, because we'll have to deal with safety issues. I don't want
Occupy Wall Street was a little blip, maybe, of this.
Yeah, Occupy Wall Street was more, I didn't see that as much as, it's not even about the disparity of income, it's about the people recognizing what enables our way of life and what enables the freedoms that we have. And if you have too many people that are invisible, that becomes at risk. And if you look at it from a big picture perspective, you've got to take that into account. That's just my opinion. Look, please, everybody question me on it. Tell me I'm an idiot. Tell me I'm full of shit, because that's the only way I learn and flesh it out further. But that's where I'm at right now.
It's a discussion we have to start having.
I think so.
The amount of jobs going away because of technology.
Right. You're gone.
Do you believe they're going away and that we're going to have less jobs? Because there are some technologists who are holding on to this idea that, no, more jobs will be created.
Well, it's not a question. There are more jobs in certain areas, but there's a requirement for them, right? And so it used to be you'd be a secretary. There was a day when you'd walk into an appointment and there'd be someone at the front desk playing solitaire on their Windows PC,
Yeah.
right? Those days are gone, right?
Yeah.
You don't see those people. You know, there were cashiers that are now gone. There's so many jobs that are gone that aren't coming back because there's no reason for them. They've been replaced by technology. And, you know, manufacturing, maybe some of it will come back, but 3D printing, what are you going to do, right?
Yeah.
There'll be 3D printing cars in 50 years, you know? And so you've got to recognize that, and I'd rather say, okay, tax me, tax, you know, whoever, right? Or let me take that back. Rather than saying tax us more, take some of the dumb shit we're doing, pull it back, and just write the checks. I'd rather see the government. So to summarize what I'm saying, government programs that are spending tens of billions of dollars, get rid of them.
Yeah, they're expensive to maintain and administer.
And they're inefficient, and it's hard. You actually have to spend more money to get people to use them, right?
Just give them a check for minimum income. Here's your $1,000 a month.
Whatever it is,
Yeah.
$1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a month. We'll spend less money. The people will actually be consumers. The people that need the money will consume in the types of stores or environments that enable more low-end jobs, right?
Yeah.
You know, so that's kind of my feeling right now. I'm open to change my mind. I'm open to be convinced, but I think that's where we're at.
And politics-wise, I've noticed you've started to open up a little bit about your political beliefs.
I have no political beliefs.
Well, somebody asked you about your beliefs about choice, abortion, legalizing drugs, not legalizing drugs, and you were pretty clear that you believe it's an individual's choice.
Yeah.
So,
Look, I have no politics. I think for myself.
So libertarian,
No.
think for yourself.
No, libertarians don't think for yourself. Libertarians say all government's bad, right? You know, the less government, the better. That doesn't work either. You have to know where you're at. Companies have life cycles, right? How you act as a startup day one is different than a startup year one, different than where you are 5 years in. Countries have life cycles. You know, generations have life cycles, you know, baby boomers, Gen Y, Gen X, whatever, you know, where you are in those life cycles for that generation, things are different, right? You don't live in the world you were born into. And so there's context for every decision. And whether libertarian takes out all the context, right? Republicans take all the context. I think for myself. I'm going to try to take all the information that I have, and I'm going to make a decision based off that information. And like you just heard me say, if I'm wrong, I'll check my whole card. I'll look again. You know, I just heard something different. Let me revisit it. And I think that's the way to do. That's the way you have to do it. I mean, now if I try to run for a political office, they say I'm the flip-flopper extraordinaire. But the answer is yes, because I don't think the same way today, and the situation today is different than it was 10 years ago, and yada yada.
It's one of the reasons you think our politics is a little bit troubled is people come to it with
A partisan perspective.
Yeah.
That's bullshit, right? That's ignorance.
One piece of advice for entrepreneurs today, a lot of young people in the audience, they're starting their first company. What do they need to know to be successful if they aspire to be the next Mark Cuban, to try to
Don't aspire to be the next Mark Cuban.
Well,
Aspire to be the next you. Right?
Okay.
I
aspire to be as successful as Mark Cuban.
Yeah, look, well, I was successful. When I was poor, living 6 guys in a 3-bedroom apartment, I was having a great time, right? But I think, one, you have to realize the idea is the least important part, right? Ideas are easy. Everybody's got them. Number 2, it's a grind. You got to grind. Number 3, if you don't know your product, service, or industry better than everybody else, whoever does is going to kick your ass. Number 4, you always have to say, if I were competing with me, how would I kick my ass, right? And number 5, you know, hire people smarter than you. Look, there's no shortcuts. That's the number 1 rule. There are no shortcuts. You got to grind. Grind, 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 grind. I don't care if you're me, you, startup. You got to grind because there's someone else. It's not like, look at all the people around you. They all want that same customer. They all want that same money. They all want it. You think, you know, they're trying to take it away from you like, you know, everybody's trying to kick everybody's ass, and that's the way it works. And not in a literal sense. I don't want fist fights, you know.
20 years from now, what will you be doing?
Dunking.
Dunking? What do you think the technology, what, they're going to get your knees?
Exactly.
Lower the height of the rim?
Whatever works, man. I don't know. I don't want to know what I'm going to be doing 20 years from now. You know, again, like my dad says, today's the youngest you're ever going to be, live like it. And when you're 21, when you're 16, you're like, okay. Then you look at 21, you think, oh my God, remember back in high school? And then you're 25, and you're like, oh my God, how long has it been since I've been in high school? It's been 7 years. Then my 10-year reunion, are you shitting me? I'm getting old, right? Or, you know, and then you're, 35, and it's like, oh shit, I'm my mid-30s, damn, and all these times you're getting in your head that, there's this relative age thing. You're young motherfuckers, right? You got to live like it. My dad's 87, and you know what? He's a beast, right? And he looks at me, he goes, shut the fuck up, right? And that's what you got to do. You just got to, however old you are, it's not about 20 years from now, it's about where you are you living your life, and just having fun. And if you can do that, you're as successful as I'll ever be.
Mark Cuban on the grind. Let's hear it.